you're watching me. I'm so happy to be with you.
Everywhere, folks. Chris are tuning in from around the world. We're so excited to welcome you, and I'm just going to jump right in. It has been 10 years since the very first Land of Stories book, and now there's a special edition coming up. Chris, how did you feel when you found out about this special edition?
I was shocked and very, very honored that Little Brown, my publisher, wanted to do a 10th anniversary edition. And I can't believe it's been 10 years. It feels like it came out yesterday. But it's such an honor that the books have resonated with so many people around the world that a 10th anniversary edition is warranted. And I can't wait for everyone to see it because it's full of amazing illustrations by our illustrator, Brandon Dorman.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. I cannot wait to add the special edition to my collection. I have the entire series. And Chris, I have to say this. We're starting with a surprise for you. We asked students and fans all around the world to send us their videos and share what they love most about the Land of Stories. Would you like to hear what they said?
Oh my God, we are starting off with a bang. I would love to, yes.
All right, let's hear it.
The Land of Stories are so good. Brilliant, amazing.
Land of Stories series are a really great series. They're very descriptive. It's like you're in the story yourself.
I really loved your books because the characters got stuck in a fairy tale.
My favorite character is Red because she was planning her wedding in the middle of a fight, which I find is very funny.
Hi Chris, I'm Angela from Nigeria. Your books have truly improved my writing skills.
The story have inspired me to become an author when I grow up.
They inspired me to make my own movies more unique and interesting.
Connor Bailey is my favorite character because he's very imaginative and writes stories. And I like writing stories as well.
Over lockdown, my friends and I started a book club. Guess what we called ourselves? The Book Huggers.
I want to thank you for all the hard work and patience you put into these books.
Thank you, Chris, for inspiring so many people, and thank you for helping them get better at their writing skills. Thank you, Chris.
Oh my gosh, that was overwhelming. Oh my gosh, that is so sweet. Thank you guys all so much for submitting your videos for me. That really touched my heart. Thank you.
That touched my heart. I can imagine that yours is bursting right now and overflowing with love and happiness. I hope that was a fun surprise for you.
Yeah, even my llama's crying.
Oh my gosh. Well, every single one of those videos was pulled directly from Little Brown's FlipGrid group for today's event. So thank you to everyone for sending in your videos. And for all of you watching, we want to hear from you during today's event. So you can use the Q&A chat tool on the right side of your screen to ask your questions. The incredible Little Brown Young Readers team will answer as many as they can in the chat. And teachers, parents, friends, and families watching, we have a little ask for you. Make sure you have your cameras ready and your phones ready, because a little later, we're going to be taking a selfie with Chris. And we love seeing your smiling faces and creating memories and hearing about your favorite moments from these FlipGrid Live events. So please be sure to tag your photos with us on Twitter using @FlipGrid, @ChrisColfer, and @LittleBrownYR. Now, let's switch gears for just a moment, Chris, to learn a little bit more about you. Could you please tell us more about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up in Clovis, California, in the United States, and I have been writing for as long as I can remember. Even before I put pen to paper, when I used to play with my action figures, as a kid, they would always have very, very detailed storylines. And writing has always been a wonderful escape for me when life got hard. When I was younger, my younger sister got very sick and was in and out of the hospital quite a bit. So through all of that, writing really saved me. And I just started writing about stories and adventures that I wanted to experience as a kid. And then I promised myself, if I ever had the opportunity, that one day I would publish those stories. And that's how The Land of Stories was born.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you kept that promise to yourself. Thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned you started writing quite young, and I've heard stories that you've had a pretty tough editor back in the day. Can you tell us a little bit about that person?
Yes, my very first editor was my grandmother. And I tried really hard to write The Land of Stories when I was about 7. And then I found that it was very hard to write a novel when I was 7, but I tried anyway. And I would go on my mom's computer and I'd write up a chapter, which was usually about a page or a half a page long. And then I'd hop on my bicycle. I think it still had training wheels on it, actually. And I'd ride my bike over to my grandma's house and I would give her my chapter and she would edit it for me. And if she liked it, she'd keep it in a stack on her kitchen table. But if she didn't like it, she'd crumble it up in front of me, toss it in the trash and say, "Christopher, you can do better." And she was usually right.
Oh my gosh. What an incredible way to encourage you to keep going, though. I love grandmas are the best. That's an incredible story.
Yeah, and mine always gave me very honest but encouraging feedback, and I think that's the key.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, now listen, Chris, we have a lot of questions coming in for you, and so do students. So let's take a question from the chat. Adelina and Sophia are watching from Portugal, and they say they wish they could be as creative as you. Chris, you and I both know that every single person has the potential to be creative. What advice do you have for the folks who think they aren't creative enough to write their own stories?
I would say try to expose yourself to as much art and culture and music and books and movies and TV shows and nature. Just try to expose yourself to as much as you possibly can, because the more that you experience and the more that you witness, the more you'll have to draw from in your imagination. So I think just the more that you live, the bigger your creativity will get. Never be afraid or subconscious about writing, because there are enough people on this planet for every single one of us to have an audience. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest tip, is just to try to just have as much fun and be around as much creativity as possible.
I love that. Living fun life experiences, our creativity can grow and grow and grow. Thank you. Now, what about the folks who are wondering where to start? If you want to write your own stories, what would you say is the first step?
I did the first step, and this is silly, but the first step is just writing that very first sentence. Because once you've written the first sentence, that sometimes can be the hardest part. But also, I think it's really important to have like a nice outline before you start writing, so you know where the story is going. And don't be worried about being married to that outline, because it can change as you write. I tend to throw my outline out like about halfway through a book, and then I change everything that I thought I was going to write. Yeah, I think a nice roadmap is helpful.
I love that. Chris, I don't know if you know this, but our mission at FlipGrid is to empower every voice. So we asked students and folks around the world to submit questions to Little Brown's FlipGrid group, and we've chosen a few to share with you today. Let's hear the first one.
Hi Chris, my name is Yut and I am from Japan. Do you have any tips for writing my own magic stories?
Hi, Yuto. Thank you for the video. Chris, Yuto is wondering if you could share some tips to help start writing magical stories.
You know what's a really good source of inspiration for me is local stuff. And I think every single kid around the world, wherever you live, there is a culture and folklore and legends and religion and spirits and whatnot that you can draw from. So I'd say start there, because that's so unique. Like wherever you are from is so unique to each of us. And I think that's a great source of inspiration, and a really great source of having unique stories.
That is great insight. Thank you. Thank you. Now, friends, here is a moment I know I'm excited for. Maybe you've been waiting for it too. It is selfie time. Teachers, parents, friends, folks, get your cameras out and everybody gather in front of your screen or your monitor or wherever it is you're watching. We are going to give you a few seconds to get set up. And don't mind us while you're getting ready. We're just going to be over here having a quick dance party. Cue the music. Those bubbles, Chris, those bubbles are awesome. All right, folks, it's time for those selfies. Chris, would you please give us a countdown?
3, 2, 1. Good one. Please send them to me.
Oh my gosh, we cannot wait to see these, Chris. That was so much fun. And friends, remember, we would love to see your selfies with Chris and celebrate this live event with him. So please be sure to share them on social and tag us using @FlipGrid, @LittleBrownYR, and @ChrisColfer. Now, Chris, let's dive back into some more questions. Up first is another video question taken from the FlipGrid group.
Hello Chris, I'm Simar and I'm from India. How do you make the characters, worlds and stories feel so real? How do you make these come to life?
I love this question. I'm going to take notes on this too, Simar. Chris, Simar is wondering, how do you make worlds and stories you feel, the worlds and stories that you write about feel so real?
You know, a lot of the characters that I write about are based on people that I know in real life. Friends and family, sometimes even my pets, and sometimes even me, honestly. So I think maybe that's why they feel so authentic, is because they're all based on real people. And a lot of the places that I write about are based on places that I've been to on vacation or on research trips, or places I've seen in pictures. So that probably adds to the realness too.
I love how you use inspiration from your real life to make that come to life. Now, friends, keep the questions coming in the chat. And while you do, I'm going to take a moment and share a few shout outs. Chris, folks literally are tuning in from around the world. Erwin and Arya, Elliot, we'd love seeing you, and they love your books, Chris. You have a super fan, Giovanna in Brazil, sharing a shout out. There are learners watching in Italy, Ecuador, Mexico, Emily over in Australia where it's 4 a.m. and she's watching. The American College in Turkey. Chris, there's even more. Isn't this incredible?
Oh my, I'm floored.
Mrs. Roar's fourth graders in Indiana. We see you. Hello, hello. Hello to Oriana in Washington, D.C. Deline in Des Moines, we hope you feel better soon. And Mr. Edwards, grade 5 class in Alberta, Canada. Chris, folks from around the world love you and adore you. It's so fun to be celebrating imagination with you and all these folks today.
I feel like I'm talking to like a mini United Nations. This is awesome.
So incredible. Okay, now, Chris, everybody's life can get really, really busy with school and sports and family and chores. And we know you are incredibly busy writing books and scripts. You're performing on stage and everything else. Jack from Ohio sent in a question wondering, how do you make time to work on your creative projects when life gets busy?
That is such a good grown-up question. Writing takes a lot of self-discipline, and sometimes, very much like when you do homework, you have to put aside fun things for a little bit so you can get the work done. But I think if you're really lucky, you'll be writing something that is fun to write and that you enjoy writing. And I'm really lucky that in my books, I've always wrote about stories that I wanted to read about, or stories that I wanted, or about adventures that I wanted to have when I was a kid. So that really helps make it a much more enjoyable process. But yeah, sometimes you just have to. It's like that story of the grasshopper and the ant, and sometimes you just have to work a little hard here and there and give up some things for it. But it's always worth it in the end.
That's great advice and encouragement. Thank you. Now, Chris, an English class from Italy is watching, and they're asking us, what role has reading played in your creativity and writing? Are there any books you love to recommend?
Oh, absolutely. I have to say reading books is probably the number one biggest help that I've ever had becoming a writer. Of course, I grew up loving the Harry Potter books. Of course, I grew up loving the Narnia books. But I also loved the books by Ava Ibbotson, like Witch and The Secret of Platform 13 and Island of the Ants. I used to love the Bruce Coville books, like I Was a Sixth Grade Alien and My Teacher Was an Alien, and all of his alien books. I also loved the Magic School Bus books when I was a kid too. I used to stare at those pictures and read those books for hours when I was little.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing your recommendations. There's a few new titles I'm gonna have to go check out. We know those books must have been such a great inspiration. I'm curious, are there any other mediums or experiences or places that inspire you?
Oh my gosh, I think honestly, kind of like I said before, everything can be inspiration if you let it be. There's one time I was watching a nature documentary about butterflies, and I saw the monarch butterflies and how they clung onto the trees of Mexico, and I thought, oh my gosh, Alex Bailey has to wear a dress made of butterflies that looks just like that. Sometimes I'll walk by a building and I'll think, oh my gosh, I want to write about a story that takes place in a place just like that. So really everything. I would tell all the aspiring writers out there to keep your eyes open, because you never know when something's going to come your way that's going to inspire your next story.
Oh my gosh, that gave me goosebumps hearing about that, because that's something everybody can do, and everyone can be a writer drawing inspiration from their experiences. Those are pro tips from you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Chris, we have one more video question, and this time it's coming from Washington in the United States. Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm from Sammamish, Washington. My question is, how do you overcome the fear of sharing your work? Thank you.
I love this question, Natalie. Thank you. And Chris.
All these questions. I'm so impressed by all these questions. These are very adult, grown-up, thoughtful questions.
They absolutely are. And I love that we get to pick your brain and hear directly from you. Now, regarding Natalie's question, take yourself back to the time when you first finished writing, maybe it was the first chapter or the first couple of chapters from the land of stories, what did you do to overcome the fear or the doubt you felt to be courageous and share your work with others?
You know, I was so lucky because my grandmother was a really big cheerleader for me when I was growing up. And whenever I finished anything, I'd always send it to her first to get her feedback, because I knew she would give me honest but encouraging feedback. And so I think it's important to find someone like that in your life that will read what you've written and be honest with what they think about it, but also encourage you to keep going with it, to encourage you to keep getting better and better and better. And I think that process really is a nice introduction to constructive criticism that you might get from an editor or a boss later on in life. And, you know, I think sometimes we, as writers, we get so fixated on certain little things here and there that we don't like to hear certain feedback or criticisms of our work. But at the end of the day, it's really important to take those into consideration, at least, because at the end of the day, we all just want to make the best possible product that we can.
Yeah, I love that insight. Feedback can be hard, but it's growthful. And so hearing you share about that, and you talked about whether it's from an editor or from a future boss, I talked about it with my students all the time. Repetition, practice, it's a good thing to continue the journey and get better and better. And that feedback is critical and important. So thank you for sharing your experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you get, just the better you're going to get. And so don't be afraid of getting feedback or getting constructive criticism.
Yeah, in every area, whether it's a creative endeavor, in writing, in performing, in whatever you are passionate about, it will help guide you forward. So Chris, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask if there is anything else or a last thought or message you would like to share with our audience before it's time to go.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I am just so honored to be in all of your spaces right now. You know, I think the one thing I wanted to share with you guys is I think the most important thing I've ever written, the most important line from any one of my books that is or will ever be is this, and that is the more the world discourages you, the more it needs you. And I know there's a lot of really scary, heavy stuff going on in the world right now. And my heart really breaks for all the kids that are in the Ukraine right now and in Russia right now, and all the LGBT kids like me in this country and other countries around the world that are going through tough times right now. And I think it's okay to be upset, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to be angry sometimes at the stuff that we see on the news. But please, please just don't let it paralyze you. Don't let it stop you. If anything, use it as fuel, use it as inspiration to go out there and make the world a better place, because I think that's exactly what your generation is going to do. I think your generation has the right amount of compassion and intelligence that the world has been waiting for. And there is absolutely no problem in the entire world that can't be solved with a little imagination. So go out there and make the world a better place for all of us.
Chris, I love that poignant and beautiful and powerful message. Folks listening in, I hope you heard that. The world has been waiting for you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing so generously from your heart and mind today, inspiring all of us to read and write and remind us that every single one of us, everyone listening, me, you, folks all around the world have the power to imagine and create. Chris, we are so thankful for you sharing your work with the world and being you and inspiring and encouraging all of us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope to meet you all in person someday.
Oh my goodness, friends. This has been so incredible. I have goosebumps. I wonder if you do too. Now, As we begin to wrap up, you might have heard me reference a few times today Little Brown Young Readers FlipGrid group throughout the show. We have over 200 videos from you that have been submitted from learners all over the world telling us their favorite thing about the land of stories and submitting your questions for Chris. On behalf of FlipGrid, Little Brown Young Readers, and Chris, we want to say thank you. You have truly inspired all of us. And we would love for you to go ahead and share what you loved most about this event, or what was one thing that you learned from Chris today, or a big takeaway from this event. You can all go to flipgrid.com/Chris Colfer to join in the fun today. And of course, we have FlipGrid live events every week. Here's a look at what's coming up. On the 23rd, we are spending time with superstar YouTuber Stacy Plays, and she will talk us through the How to Build a Book series. On the 30th, we're speaking with WNBA basketball player Jewel Lloyd and her mother Gwen Lloyd to discuss their journey dealing with dyslexia. And on April 5th, we are privileged to host the legendary Dr. Ibram X. Kendi as we explore anti-racism and activism. Please head to aka.ms/FlipGrid live events to register. We hope you can join us for a future event. And folks, I want to say thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with us today. I want to also say a special thank you to our 2 ASL interpreters, Gaborski and Catherine. Thank you so much. On behalf of Team FlipGrid, the Little Brown Young Readers team, and our special guest, Chris Colfer, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.